Hello and welcome to the Veer Vulnerabilis Veer podcast. I'm Adam Glinsky.
And I'm Albert Imperato.
Where we help men communicate and build empathy. So wow, this is our 2019 wrap up. We've had quite a year, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of everything in between for that. So
a lot of weird, a lot of great, a lot of denim, a lot of credit card action, a lot of new friends.
Exactly. Yeah. There's just been so much. So we thought we'd do an entire episode dedicated to, the 2019 recap. It's coming out on New Year's Day. So hopefully, you are relaxing, enjoying, probably have the day off of work, you're not too hungover. So put this on, relax, and enjoy it. So we've got a couple questions built in for each other, but just kind of wanted to ask you, Albert, like, what'd you think, man? Like, how was this year for you? Like, if you could kind of sum it up in like a couple words, like, what do you think it is?
The year overall, this was a really good year. This is kind of in certain ways the setup for the breakthrough, I would call it. I would say I'm getting to that wonderful ripe age of I'm 57 where I'm like old enough to actually know something about life and still can walk and still, I still have energy like I've always had to do things. So I kind of feel like I'm in a very good balanced place in my life, and some big milestones happening in my life, in my relationship, my work situation. So yeah, as we go down and be more specific, we'll get into those, and it's great because towards the end of 2019 we started this, and I can't say it was something I thought I'd start at the beginning of the year. So it's also a wonderful reminder that sometimes some of the really great and fun things that we do with our lives are not things that we completely planned for. I did not plan to meet you, talk about this, and also make a podcast with you. And suddenly the year's ending, we're talking about the best of the year, and we have this thing we've created.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a wild ride for me too. And also agree with what you're saying too, is like the setup for the breakthrough. I felt like this year I've grown a lot. I've learned so much. I've taken kind of a new approach to education on there and just really gone with it. So awesome, man. I'm really excited about this episode. So the first question that we have on the kind of list that we made for each other is what was your favorite moment, on or about the podcast this year?
Oh, mine actually is before anything really even officially happened. It was actually the day that it actually went live on Apple Podcasts. That was when I realized how real it was, and I was excited too, because I often brainstorm with people. We were sitting around, we have a good idea, and we think, oh, we should do this. We should make something of this. This is a great idea, and nothing comes of it. And this was one of those times where I mentioned I wanted to do a new project, a book about some of the interesting people I had met through Instagram. And you heard what the book was about, and you said that would really make a nice podcast. And within 2 weeks, and a great deal, because you took so much decisive action and did such hard work, I'm like downloading something that's on Apple Podcasts. So that was like a moment of, woo, that zipped along fast, and it was very gratifying.
Yeah, I gotta say the same thing. It wasn't really about like something on the podcast. It was actually pressing submit for that first time and just being like, okay, like we talked about this, we did this, we like, those first couple of weeks we like talk to each other every day about like what we want to do and who we want to be, and like, okay, here it goes. So like I'm like getting goosebumps on my arms right now just thinking about it, because it was just such a moment when it was just like, okay, got to do it, click, and there it was. And it's like, okay, it's live, it's real, this thing's alive. So it's been super cool, like just doing this with you, and it's been really fun. So I'm glad your moment was kind of just seeing kind of the same thing of just like, hey, yeah, this is on, on the web, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Spotify.
It's really, it's real. It's funny. One of my friends, he asked me what I've been doing lately, and he's one of my better friends, but he's not been following my social media. So he just said, oh, what you been up to? I said, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I, been working on this podcast. And he just like did this double take. He's like, you have a podcast? And then he just like thought for a second. He just said, of course you do. So it was a little bit of like finally a place where, you could talk and not shut up, and that's actually what you're supposed to do. I'm trying to learn to be more concise and to listen better, so I'll shut up.
All right. So, yeah, I mean, inside of this, we've had insights, we've had aha moments, and I'll share mine for this one is that, the biggest insight is that people have really actually connected with us, and our stories have actually, helped people through parts of their lives, and our conversations are actually holding weight in people's lives, and getting those DMs and getting that feedback from our audience has just been like, wow, okay, like this is something, like this is really cool. And it's been very inspiring and kept me wanting to continue to do this. So that was my biggest insight is like, okay, like I'm actually like on the air, like this means something.
Yeah, I've had a very, very similar experience. I was very appreciative of some really lengthy notes that people sent us, and it was really what 2 points. The one point was that I read the notes and read and in reading the notes had an idea of who was writing to me, but when I got to know the person, I realized that that person was very different than the person who wrote me the note. It's just so weird. If I felt because they wrote such a similar note, if they felt such an empathy with and closeness to what we were talking about, that I thought, oh, this guy's maybe a little like me or a little like Adam. Like and then I realized that no, they're their own person, and they've gotten something from you, but they're not at all like me or whatever, some combination. And that was kind of fun to make me realize that people of very different backgrounds were connecting in very, very different ways. Um, you know, on the other hand, I mean, the more intense part of that was probably the most explosive thing in a way that happened between us was this realization of the responsibility, the power and responsibility of getting your words out there. That was a
Mhm.
little, very shocking to me. I kind of think probably people who are in the broadcast business probably this is something that they learn in their career when they're we kind of stumbled it. You actually were on the radio before, and you had done some radio stuff in school, I think you said,
Mhm.
even after school, where I'd never really done it. I was a guest a couple of times on a radio show talking about promoting music, but yeah, I, I realized when if just to be more specific, when we had that reaction to the locker room story, where you
Mhm.
talked about this kind of altercation, this violent moment that happened in the deep dive, and I at the time we were talking, I didn't know how to get to the bottom of what I was feeling. I was kind of confused by it. I couldn't quite understand why that story was so unsettling. Obviously, anytime you involve violence in any way, it's
Yeah.
unsettling and upsetting. Um, but when someone wrote into me and said, "Hey, you guys kind of were almost promoting it a little bit. You were almost saying it's okay under certain circumstances," and I was like, wow. At first I was a little defensive and thought, wow, that's not reading it properly. Then kind of when I sunk into it, I realized that it was a little part of my difficulty is that we didn't fully clarify and explain what the ultimate meaning of that event was. And I think I and I don't think there's any harm to this. I think it uncorked something in you. And I felt over the weeks that followed that as we discussed this off air, that you were thinking about it. Maybe you had always been thinking about it. Maybe you were thinking about it new, and maybe in a new way. So that was a very intense. That was an especially intense moment.
Oh yeah. And that for me is probably the biggest lesson I learned about myself and learned about, this podcast here, was, number one, like you were saying, is just kind of share the wisdom first and then the story. I honestly hadn't told that story many times. So it was kind of weird and honestly difficult for me to bring out there. So with that feedback and everything, first I'd like to say that in no way at all am I promoting violence to any degree. That's just not what I want to put out there for myself and for the show. Violence is not the answer. Um, being bullied in school, I mean, that's not a fun topic at all. I mean, it's not a fun part of my life, but being able to stand up to that person who really had it out for my family and my religion is really what I was taking the pride in. And being a 31-year-old husband and father, I would not go down that same road. And for our audience and for anyone out there, I truly hope that none of you have to experience that amount of like anti-Semitism or any type of bullying to that degree. It's awful. It's not fun. And from that experience, from saying it out there, kind of just actually talking about it for the first time, I uncovered a lot of emotions and a lot of, other kind of traumatic experiences in my upbringing. And what this kind of did was turn on the light to a lot of the negativity, a lot of my emotions that I had around those situations, and to really see, what it was. And, this is something that, I'm continuing to work on. And I hope the listeners and you, Albert, too, can continue on this journey with me into my own vulnerability. So that was, honestly, the biggest lesson for me in the past, couple months in doing this was that.
Yeah, it was something I just hadn't really talked about because if you don't know from personal experience some of these things that you experienced, it's kind of hard to wrap your mind around it. And it's funny. I'm thinking back to it now. I've had like my brushes with rude or nasty or threatening people, but I've not felt like this sort of feeling cornered aspect to things. I hope I never do. I don't know that how I'll respond, but I hope that I'll be able to deal with it, and also afterwards learn the best possible lesson from it, and try to, I don't know. I'm hoping that I'll have the strength. Oh yeah, I mean that's not really true. I actually was mugged once. I was pretty badly mugged, actually by a bunch of guys. Actually, I was
Mhm.
kind of knocked out. I didn't even tell you this story, but kind of knocked out. I have no memory of
Yikes.
it really. Oh yeah, I was like literally hit by a gun in the head.
Yeesh.
Uh, yeah, it was a wilding incident many years ago in New York. It was a block away from my house, and I have to admit afterwards, maybe it's because it was something that I was knocked out and unconscious, but I remember afterwards just feeling sort of a sense of just pity for these people, just feeling if you're the kind of person using violence, then there's something pitiful about you as a person. I think people who use violence are the smallest people amongst us, honestly. I think that I think we have been given sort of God has given us powers to resolve everything that we have face in our lives using different means than violence. And I know we're animals, and I know all that stuff. I get that, but I really do think we're endowed with a higher purpose. So anyway, there we go. Let's not go off too much on a tangent. This is gonna be a topic. It might have to be a whole show down the road.
Yeah, totally.
Um, Biggest lesson learned from a guest. Do you have one of those?
Yeah. So, in an upcoming future episode with Tim, TL Sorensen, we actually talked about the importance of like a family dinner and family time. And for us, and my wife, we both work pretty crazy schedules. So, her and I have been trying to implement that as much as we can in our life. Mostly, we've been doing family breakfasts because we have a little bit more time in the morning. We have like different schedules at night. So, for us, just kind of having that one little bit of solid family time has really just improved our relationship, and we can just talk, put the phones down, and just be like, hey, what's up, what are we doing today, when are we going to see each other tonight, what we're trying to do. So that's been a lot of fun, and just kind of seeing that lesson is just from a very seasoned father. Both of his kids are off to college, so that was a big lesson I learned from a guest.
And I love those kinds of lessons that are simple ones to put into place, and other people can easily do them. They don't have to sign up for a course, read a book, or do anything. They just need to say they're going to do it and do it. And what
Hmm.
a great result so quickly.
Yeah.
I didn't have a specific lesson from a guest. More of something that lingered and haunted my brain for a little bit after Henry Lohmeyer talked
Oh yeah.
about, our photographer friend talked about how being a teenager, feeling like these young teenagers in his life, these boys were his brothers, and that tipping point where they became the other. They
Hmm.
went from being the kid in the playhouse, the kid in the treehouse that you're, is your blood brother, and you'll do anything for, and you're right there beside each other. And then, somehow in the process of becoming an adult, we start getting more guarded, and we drift away from that. And that's been haunting me. I think that was a really beautiful story that he told, and he told it really well.
Yeah, I mean, whew, that's something that, my brother and I went through, like I said on the show. But yeah, I think there's some real value to there, and just some more digging that can be done, because a lot of a lot of people feel that way. I mean, I know I did growing up. Um, I'm not sure if you um, even remember this, or like got taught in school, but I remember in some of like the old books, that there was kind of like a sort of like a social, it wasn't really experiment, but it was just kind of a thing that people did, where usually between like 13 and 15, like young kids, especially men, would actually go live with a different family to kind of have a different experience of like those, trying years. And I kind of always thought about that. I'm like, like, how would that work out in today's society? Like, do you think there'd be any difference or change? Because that's definitely not the case anymore. So I don't know. Like, I don't know
Yeah,
if you,
it's almost like the case, like where like a foreign student will come and live with an American family. I've heard of that still in recent years. People doing that. In the industry I'm in, the music industry, there's a
Mhm.
fair amount of music students that I meet who have traveled and lived in other cities for a while. But yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, I have a friend whose son is in a gap year before college, and instead of going right off to college, he's spending a year with a family in Brazil. He doesn't speak Portuguese, and he just showed up and is living with this family in Brazil. It's actually just a couple; they don't have kids, and they're living, and they monitor the parents work at a nature park, a nature reserve,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah, he's like learning, and he's like having to learn the language. He's having, and basically I think it's a full 9 months. That's a deep immersion. I
Yeah.
can't imagine he can leave that experience and not be incredibly enriched by it.
Totally. So, that's definitely something that I thought of during that time. So yeah, that's a really great story by Henry. So that kind of leads me to like vulnerability. And since we heard all these stories, we've had all these experiences. What does the word vulnerable mean to you now?
Do you know what's really funny? I didn't actually look up the word vulnerable um, until today. I actually never looked it up, even though we kept saying it. It's something that we constantly talk about. We hear about
Mhm.
vulnerability, and vulnerability can have a very negative connotation of meaning,
Yeah.
we're weak and we're easily attacked and all that. But the one of the definitions, I think it was the first definition when I looked it up, it said that vulnerable meant capable of being physically or emotionally wounded. And interesting, the word wound is I think the Latin word vulnus is wound, I think. It's interesting. The wound has, to me, a very much a negative connotation. Nobody
Mhm.
wants to be wounded. But yes, I think we tend to want to not get hurt and not be wounded. But of course, our desire to not be wounded can mean not living in a meaningful way, and worse, even to the point of trying to protect ourselves, we cause harm to others because we don't deal honestly with our own issues. And it looks like we're protecting ourselves, but it's actually an excuse to sort of take out our insecurities and our difficulties on other people. So I guess for me, I'm doing what we're doing and talking to people. I've I've come up with an idea that vulnerable now to me means really honestly not being afraid to tell the truth, to be the full person that I'm claiming to be, and not be really good at spinning who I am. It's really really different to admit to an insecurity or to a failure or to a wrongdoing, etc. It's really difficult to do. It's very easy, and we live in a culture now where spinning bad behavior is a way of life. That's a real reality that we're kind of saying that we pretending we don't know what's right and wrong, and we honestly a lot of times know that we are doing the wrong thing by turning a blind eye to other people, by pretending we don't know what's harming ourselves or harming someone else, and just kind of letting it happen. So to me, the word means now more, a kind of almost, you know, it's a base level of honesty that can't be compromised. It's an ideal that we strive for, but I think it's something that's desire. It's something we should desire to have, because it's got to be the key to really understanding our possibilities as human beings.
Yeah. Wow. So yeah, it sounds like integrity is at the utmost importance for vulnerability for you.
Yes, I think that's
Mhm.
well put.
So one thing that
Although,
kind of,
like
oh yeah,
anybody else, I can really bullshit myself to no end. Like, I'll do something dumb and I'll just be like, "Ah, there's a really good reason behind this, and here's my big." And the truth is, I'm just being insecure and stupid. So I'm going to avoid that in the future as much as possible.
yeah. Well, one thing you said is, kind of about like, being civil to a wound is like, they're the old saying of, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So being able to take that wound and heal it, and more often than not, like when you break a bone, it grows back stronger. And then if you callus your hands, they'll grow back stronger. So
I think it
I,
depends how you callus your hands. I think,
yeah.
uh, but no, it's really true. I think that's the famous Nietzsche quote about what not killing you makes you stronger. Um, I think that's very true. I think that's very, and it reminds me
Mhm.
of Henry's line about broken being beautiful, and how you offered your take of the sort of the Japanese approach of taking broken things and putting them back together. I
Mhm.
love that idea, though, that your bone comes back stronger. That's good to hear, because I have this weird, almost phobic fear of breaking bones.
Yeah, luckily I've only broken a thumb and a toe, but yeah, they, they do. But and my kind of sentiment to vulnerable is, um, kind of more of what I've experienced is that like it really means you're able to see yourself objectively and make decisions that will better yourself, no matter the comfort level. So not having that emotional bias allows you to see your own blind spots and allows you to work on them in whatever kind of degree you need to.
I like that. As I reach for my whiskey instead of my tea.
Yeah. You're like, "All right, yeah, what's up?"
It's
Oh,
a
man.
game show. Will he go for the tea or will he go for the whiskey?
Tonight is whiskey.
I
Oh,
literally did both, because I was like, Adam and I are going to be talking about some shit. So I might need, yeah, I might need whiskey.
yeah, well,
All right, now we get more to the lightning round now.
yeah, exactly. So
Well,
let's
maybe not, but a couple of these are a little faster.
mhm. But, let's, bring up the mood here. So, best rugged gear pickup of the year.
Oh, I didn't have that on our prearranged list.
I know, yeah, I
If
worked it in there.
I'm gonna say, my Brave Star Salvage Sherpa jacket.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. I like that one a lot.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm kind of pained that I left it in town, and I'm spending 2 weeks up at the house without it, because we're not getting the full winter days.
Mhm.
I don't have good medium cold coats, so I've been wearing leather jackets all week, which is okay. But I'm missing the Sherpa. That's my number one pick. No, hands down.
Nice.
How about you? Do you have one?
Yeah, definitely. So for the Black Friday, I got another pair of Blundstone boots. So I have a pair of brown ones and black ones, and the black ones are a little bit more like water resistant. So they're definitely my go-to winter boots now. So I really like them.
Yeah, you've been digging that. I've been noticing. You've been
Oh
having those a
yeah,
lot. They're in
man,
your feet all the time.
dude, you just slip them on, and then also I have custom orthotics in both of them, so they're super super.
Well, you've been dealing with ankle recovery, so
Yeah.
you need it to
Mhm.
be done right.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, ever since that, my a lot of parts of my life has changed up after that ankle injury. But
Well, I'm glad you're on the mend. That was the best news I heard today, was that you're on the mend.
yep, yeah. So it's getting back. I got another checkup on Tuesday, so I'll see what they say. They might send me back to work. I'm hoping so. It's kind of a little bit lonely being isolated in your apartment all the time because you can't go so many places. But
But it was a little blessing, because it
yeah,
helped get this thing off the ground. Well, I
absolutely.
like the surprise question. You got another one, or one on the list?
Oh yeah, yeah. So best like not like rugged gear pickup of the year, but like best kind of like investment or something that you got that really just kind of helped you out.
My meditation app that you made me get, I would
Ooh.
have to say. My
Nice.
10% happier app. Yeah, there's lots of other things I could put on the list, but I think that I fight the idea. My driving quality seems to be my energy level. Everybody's always like,
Mhm.
"Dude, you have so much energy," and I resist people telling me I need also more reflective activities in my life because they're hard for me to focus. And I have to say that even if I don't always do it, or if I'm not don't feel like I'm getting where I want to be with it quickly, whatever, it's not a race. I realize that just knowing and thinking that it's there and that that's an aspect of life I need to cultivate, I think has given me a little greater sense of calm.
Nice.
So thank you for that one.
Yeah, you're very welcome. That's a good one. I've been using that for a couple years now and has really helped. Kind of going off the meditation, I got this nice desk chair. I got this for Hanukkah this year, but the big part of me getting this was I needed a better place to meditate. And I was like, I'm always
Oh,
going,
good. Oh, good for you.
yeah, I'm either like laying down or I'm like, like, using like a kind of like a dinner chair, but this one is way nicer. It's more comfortable. Plus I can, work at my
You want to
desk now, actually, instead of
Do
sitting on
you want to
stools.
get plug-in? Maybe they'll send you one. Like, and when you say that on TV and people send you a chair, maybe what
Yeah.
you want to say?
Yeah, I got a Serta chair, so it's got like this nice like memory foam into it. I was like, I want to
You
get a
hear
nice
that,
sleep
Serta?
chair. Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
when we go live, we'll put that one in the show notes and we'll send
Mhm.
them the link.
Exactly.
Oh my
All
God,
right.
I'm so cheesy.
All right. So
I'm gonna let you keep drilling.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
doing good.
Best movie and why?
Okay, this one is clear because I've seen both of them recently. I'm gonna
Mhm.
pick two. So,
Okay.
um, Marriage Story on Netflix.
Okay.
Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. I think as like the child of divorce, that movie really rang true.
Okay.
Um, Also, as someone in a relationship now, approaching 25 years in a relationship, I saw that movie and said, I am never getting divorced because it's too painful and terrible, and God help me if I ever get divorced, it'll kill
Hmm.
me. But no, the movie is really powerful. It's very well done. It's very well acted. It's heartbreaking watching people who love each other just not be able to get past their issues. The way that they hold things back, the relationship has its issues and falters, and then they go back to say, "I've never been happy because of this or that," and just we can be very revisionist when we're hurt, and look back and only see the hurt and forget to see the joy. I don't want to give away too much of the movie, but it starts with them both reading letters saying what they liked about each other before they start the process of divorce. Anyway, I don't want to give it away. There's some
Yeah.
transcendence to it to a certain degree, and the acting is very good. The other movie is that was directed by Noah Baumbach. Um, I also love the movie Parasite. I know a lot of people love that movie, but it's the South Korean director Bong Joon Ho. Um, that is to me, that's a brilliant art film that it could be placed in like 25 different genres. It's so well done. It's a black comedy. It's a thriller. It's a social commentary. It really just there are some images in that movie putting into stark relief the difference between the haves and the have-nots that are just so potent. There is just one moment where there's this flood that destroys where the poor people live, and there's a moment you see this one character just clinging. I mean, the only place that's dry in her apartment is like by the toilet, and you see this woman sort of sitting, and you're just like, dear God, like that's actually a real image.
Yeah.
There are people who are living through this kind of stuff, and it's a brilliant movie. It's funny too. It's very savagely funny at times. I won't give any of it away. If you haven't
Mhm.
seen it, highly recommended.
Yeah, that's really cool. So my wife loves Korean movies and Korean TV shows. So
Oh,
uh,
cool.
yeah, so I'm sure she'll want to
You'll
check
like
that
that
one
one.
out. Yeah. For me,
Oh,
I can't believe I'm saying this because I
uh-oh.
I'm not really the biggest Marvel fan, and my wife, she loves it. She loves all the action superhero movies, but I've watched all of them, sometimes against my will. But the one that really struck me was Endgame, and I kept thinking like, I watched this movie, but like, what about this one? And I mean, if you haven't seen it, too bad. I'm spoiling it because you probably should have seen it by now.
Spoiler
But
alert! Spoiler alert!
spoiler alert, yeah, fast forward a couple minutes. Um, but the way that, like Tony Stark really just gave that ultimate sacrifice at the end was just so selfless and so moving. And, he's the one that really kind of brought everything together and, really was the gung ho person, in the end when he wasn't in the beginning. But just that he did that for his whole family and he did that for everyone else is just such a big selfless moment. um, and also just sort of kind of more the beginning of the movie is when you see all of the superheroes like vulnerability. You see them all just, you know they dealt with the loss. They know that Thanos bested them for that time being. So really just seeing their insights, especially like Thor just being like just fat and drunk and just not wanting to do anything. um, it just shows you that like different people, even if they are superheroes, still deal with loss and their coping mechanisms are way different. So I thought it was great, awesome action movie. It was fun. It had all the stars in it, but it really had some good points of just kind of seeing how people dealt with loss regardless of their innate abilities. Then also just kind of seeing how someone who was considered the most selfish one was the most selfless at the very end.
All right, I like that. I'm into redemption stories. Sounds like there's a
Yeah.
little redemption story going
Oh
on there.
yeah. There's a
I
lot.
think
I
I
mean,
missed the Avengers episode. I think I'm 2 movies behind now.
okay. Well,
After a
sorry for
while, there's
spoiling.
just so many of them, I'm just, like, overwhelmed, and I
Yeah.
read all the comic books when I was a kid.
Oh wow.
Let's
Okay.
see. Um, you're doing a good job going through the list. Wanna keep going?
Yeah. So top resolution for 2020.
More sleep.
More sleep. That's a good one.
I only get 5 hours sleep, 4 hours sleep, 5 hours sleep. I'm not a sleeper, and I think it would be better for me to sleep more.
Absolutely, man. 7 to 9 hours. Get that. My big paper in my senior year of high school, you had to write like a 15-page paper, and mine was all on sleep studies and how, children and teenagers and young adults need to sleep more and get more rest. So yes, definitely 7 to 8 hours minimum. Um,
Ugh, I'm trying.
yeah. Well, make a sleep routine. Make
I've
a
been
make
I've
a
been
little
really we were getting up earlier, trying to push our clocks back so I fall asleep
Mhm.
earlier. It just I'm working on it. I'm gonna keep working on it. It's my goal.
Okay. I'm definitely gonna
How about
check in
you?
on
How
you.
about you?
I'll
What's
hold you
your
accountable to
resolution?
that. So mine, so I read this book called Emotional Intelligence 2.0, and my goal is to raise my emotional intelligence. And so what you do when you read this book is, you get about a couple chapters in, it kind of gives you some history, some backstory, gives you a lot of the why. And then before it goes into the how, you take an EQ test to find out what your emotional quotient is. Similar to IQ, but a little bit different. And so I score on there. I had some really great scores in relationship management and, kind of like self discovery on there, but, it wasn't the number that I wanted to hit. So basically, I'm going to every 6 months take this test and kind of check myself on it. But I've also I have a little notebook that I've been carrying around kind of around the house and stuff, and I've been kind of putting commentary on different conversations I've had, my emotional reactions to different things, and I'm really just kind of writing it down and just kind of getting the data and not trying to be so dramatic about it. So I'm just logging all this information and seeing how I progress, because I really want to be able to do that for this podcast, for my professional life, for my personal life, for my intimate relationships. I want to be able to be someone that can really have a strong conversation and really kind of get the person. So that's my top resolution, is to raise
I'm
my
I'm
emotional
liking
intelligence.
that a lot. I feel like EQ is a big phrase that we heard a lot about for a while, and then
Mhm.
it's kind of been a little quiet lately. So I think that that's really I just love the whole purpose. I think it serves you in so many ways, and I'm going to ask you further questions about it down the road.
Please do. Yeah, I'm gonna be doing it. So I've got a whole notebook, so I'll have a lot of data to
You
give you.
love a notebook. You're so into notebooks. I love
I,
notebooks. Not as
yeah,
much as you though.
I know. I am a legal pad junkie, straight
I
up.
love it. I think it's
I have
great.
multiple sizes. They come with me everywhere. Yeah, I'm totally about writing things down. That's totally me.
Can I mention a book, a favorite book? We've mentioned
Yes, that's where I was going next.
that was your book, or that was your no, that was your resolution. So is
That
that
was my
kind of your book?
resolution. So my book is actually the one you recommended me,
Oh
which was The
shit.
War of Art. And yeah, it was, I read it like, I mean, honestly, like within 24 hours, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. I was like, holy crap, this means
Dude, I'm so
so much to me.
glad.
Yeah. So
Wow.
yeah. So yeah, dude, that book was
Resistance,
amazing.
right? You see that word
Yeah.
resistance and then you get it.
Hmm. And then yeah, I was waking up and I was like really groggy in the morning, and I was like, I need to do my yoga. I need to do my meditation. And then I was just sitting there like, I don't want to do it. And I just said, no, this is resistance. And I just, kind of pulled myself up by the bootstraps and did it. Just, you just got to do it. You got to handle it.
And
And also,
someone, the person who I married gave me that book. So I
yeah,
guess I married the right person.
apparently, but I think one of the other parts of the book that really struck me was being the professional and kind of like sitting down daily and doing your work. And that kind of was
Mm,
like this other part of discipline that I haven't had in my life. I've definitely, I know, doing it and stuff, but it was just like showing up daily and having that presence and, mindfulness towards your work. That was a whole another aspect to it. So that just fueled so many parts of just who I am and just kind of gave me some inspiration. So I
no,
appreciate that recommendation.
there's nothing more flattering and wonderful than when you give something to someone and they actually use it.
Oh, you're
It's like giving someone a sweater and they actually wear it to work one day, and you're like, oh, you actually like that thing. That's cool. No,
yeah.
that book that's a special one. The author,
Mhm.
remind me the author's name?
Stephen Pressfield.
Steve Pressfield. Yeah, he's smart. Hey,
Mhm.
I got to figure out if he's still around. We should get him on the show.
Yeah, he is. He's still
Wouldn't it?
kicking
That
it.
would be awesome, wouldn't it?
Hmm.
Steven, if you're listening,
Yep.
we
I'll,
want you on this show.
my uncle's a Marine. I'm gonna have him ask.
Oh, I like that idea.
Yeah.
I'm going to recommend a book. I
Yeah.
was an American Studies major back in my Stanford days, and I did not study Frederick Douglass that
Mm.
much. Actually, he's one of the really truly great 19th century Americans. Someone born a slave who became one of the great patriots, one of the great abolitionists, one of the great moral teachers of the 19th century. And it's a book called Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom by David Blight. And it's an amazing book. It's 900 pages. It's a long book, but it's a book that reads quickly. And probably the two key reasons why it's resonating so much with me at the moment. A is that he understood that fundamentally our lives as human beings were based on sort of a moral journey that we take, and that we all mostly are challenged to acknowledge good that's being done, and to encourage good and be good and to do the right thing, so to speak, but also to challenge evil. And he made a very clear point that a big problem in American society was not wanting to own up to what it had done, that it had done terrible things. And even to this day, when I don't want to get overly political, but we are still hearing way too much from public officials in our country, where we're still not wanting to fully, whether it's not take responsibility for what we've done to the environment, the lingering problems with race relations. It's like, stop with the bullshit. Let's just stop with the bullshit. You know what you're saying is full of shit. Stop it, acknowledge it, and do something about it, because otherwise you're taking us one step further down a path to nowhere. And the more steps down the path to nowhere you go, is the more steps you got to take back to go somewhere. So I say that this book, it really reminds you of that. And yeah, I guess that's the most important thing. And just obviously, the power of words. This man, pre-internet, he traveled, pre-everything, pre-telephone. He
Yeah.
traveled. He traveled across the America giving speeches, and he really connected in these speeches with the reason why today, why people still read the Bible. I know, you say the Bible and people, there's all kinds of controversies, the people who talk and use it to bludgeon other people. And then there's the people who say, I don't want to hear anything from it. But the Bible's purpose in the world of Frederick Douglass is when human beings are beyond reason, that's when we sort of we have to turn to God in a certain way and just say, look, if you're really going to take this gift you've been given and really not use it and really actually kind of piss on it, this gift that you've been given to reason and to figure it out and live better, then you're potentially going to incur the wrath of God, however you define God. And God may just simply be those unknown forces that you, as a small, tiny, insignificant human being, can't possibly comprehend. So that the book, I don't know, the book is doing it for me on many levels. So I encourage people to read. It's also just a great, very well written book.
Yeah, I mean, values of hard work and ownership, especially ownership, are just absolutely, essential for life. You need to, again, like you were saying before, have that integrity and have that ownership of who you are and where you're from and how you have as a collective people can move forward. So that sounds amazing. And 900
Yeah,
pages, there's a lot of
yeah,
stuff in there.
it's a lot. It's a lot to read, but I think it's a really kind of perfect book to read right now at our time. It's important to realize. It's important to realize that some of these problems that we're facing have been. He saw the Civil War as the second American Revolution. It's like we
Yeah.
had the Civil War because we didn't actually solve and do the right thing at the time of the Revolution. We declared all men are equal and made a large percentage of the population unequal. You can't do that and not have a problem later on. Duh. All right.
Yeah.
No more preaching. Sorry about
Yeah.
that.
Oh, good.
What's your biggest disappointment of the year? Do you have any?
Biggest disappointment, I kind of like with the setback and disappointment was really just, and along with my humbling moment too, is really kind of centered around my ankle injury. So just kind of give a little backstory on that. Mid-August, I woke up, my feet were swollen, huge. I worked on them for about 2 weeks, and just the pain was incredible. I actually got a medical leave off. I've been through 3 rounds of steroids. I've had nerve studies. I've had MRIs, X-rays, you name it. Braces, orthotics, all that fun stuff. So for me, I mean, that was just a huge moment in my life, and that was kind of pre all this podcast a little bit too. But I mean, I went through a wave of depression. I lost like 30 pounds just not being able to move. Just sitting in bed all day, kind of wallowing. And then, with that, I was like, I have this time. I have so much good going for me. Like, let's make the most of this. And then that's when I started reaching out to you, Ben, and Matt, just being like, hey, let's talk, let's chat, let's get all this stuff going. And, kind of just seeing all of that happen. That was really like, I mean, it was a disappointment in my life where for months it was struggling to walk. I was using the wall to go on, and I had to rely on my family a lot just to do small things. So that was huge for me. It was just kind of just taking that loss of just literal movement and trying to still make the best of my life. So that was one of the hardest times for me throughout this year.
Well, I mean, all credit to you, and power to you that you took something negative like that and used this new space and the place that you're at to make room to do something so positive. So that's a really clever use of a potentially really really negative situation. I know how when I'm injured and I can't do my normal routine, I can get really crazy because you get sort of stuck in your own head. So thank God you're smart enough to have redirected your energy essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like that for
Well,
the first couple weeks. It was really
well,
tough. And
hopefully it'll just continue, and hopefully you'll make a full for recovery. It seems like you're on the
yeah,
you're
I'm
on
on
the
the up and up.
yeah.
So, whew, very happy about
we
that.
went we, we went longer than we thought. Do you want to
Yeah,
do one last
yeah.
biggest realization thing, or what is the one you want to end with?
I'd like to end with the person who made the biggest difference in our lives. And
Oh,
Albert,
wow.
I gotta say it was you, man. So I mean,
Uh-oh.
for this year in 2019, um, you pushed me. You you made this happen. You know, your inspiration of this book led this project, and um, you know, this journey of the podcast has made us so much closer as friends. And you know, I feel like, you know, you're a best friend, you're a mentor, you're, you know, just someone who is just such a positive light in my life that I'm truly thankful that we're doing this. So, Albert, you made the biggest difference in my life in 2019. So thank you
Wow.
from the bottom of my heart, man.
Wow. Wow. Well, I did not see that one coming. So, I'm
Totally
very
fine.
moved, genuinely, no, genuinely moved. It does, makes me feel really good to 2 things. One, that getting older, I think I'm having a little bit of that moment where I did not have children myself, and I think, sharing some of my life experience with other people has become a bigger, goal for me,
Mhm.
and, you know, thinking that, anything that I said to you or done with you has brought more richness to your life and made you a fuller, better person. You know, finding you're doing what you more of what you want to do. I mean, that's what it's all about. And you know, I've said it, you know, many times. You you know you I had a view of you that you know is kind of, you know, unique in a way. I you know you every time I've talked to you, you've kind of just been so, like, you know, present and so, up for anything. Like, you're just up. Yeah, sure. Why not? Why can't we do that? I used to. I often push people, and it's really fun that you don't need to be pushed so hard. Um, I really I love that, and like I said, I didn't expect to hear, but what you said, so I'm a little verklempt. But I'm gonna pass it backwards in a way too, because I'm gonna mention sort of, my relationship with Henry Lohmeyer as sort
Yeah.
of the most influential person, for me in this past year. Because Henry, my conversation with Henry on Instagram, that's kind of really started me understanding the power of social media. How he opened up to me, what that did to make me realize, my own loneliness at the time that we reached out to each other. I was one of those classic 50 something men with too much time on his hand and needing more social interaction. And, you know, Henry got the ball rolling. If it weren't for that, I mean, it might have been someone else, but there was something about Henry, um, looking into that camera and seeing someone who looked a little like me, the gray hair. You know, he'd been around the block a couple of times.
Mhm.
um, that was really good. That helped me let my guard down. If I'm talking to someone 20 years younger than me, 30 years younger, you know, I'm a different person. But when you talk to someone your own age, it's like, oh, okay, what's going on with you? Uh, you know, some people are young and very wise, and some people are old and very foolish. And you know, age does not correlate to wisdom in certain ways completely. It's kind of a wasted opportunity if you don't get a little bit wiser as you get older. Um, but yeah, I gotta thank Henry for that experience, for, just also reminding me that art is such a powerful, force. You know, his photos, I've said it from the beginning, are art. And you know, I've made a living promoting music, art music, classical music. Matter of fact, January, you know, is going to mark the 20th anniversary that when I started my own company. 35, almost 35 years for me now in the music business. And I'm really, I'm just glad I'm still doing what I'm doing. And now, like I said, 3, 4 months ago, I did not think I'd be doing a podcast with this guy from Pittsburgh who I met through Instagram talking about denim. In a gazillion years, I wouldn't have predicted that one. So, all you know, I guess my closing thought is to encourage people. Actually, just this morning, someone wrote to me and said, I wish my life had, as much excitement in it as yours. I love reading your posts and following your feed. And I said, you know, my excitement from life is all simple stuff. It's books and music and people and conversation. it's not jet skiing in Bali. I mean, that would be great. Don't get me wrong.
Mhm.
Or skiing. I mean, it's just, it's just the thing that's right here in front of us. It's what's right here and accessible at every moment is a source of potential wonderment. And, I think we have to continually remind ourselves of that and look for it, because I think if you lose track of that power that you have, then you've given away almost your most important power as a human being.
Absolutely. I mean, just finding, and I'm not even like entertainment, but just value and just comfort and enjoyment of the everyday things of a good conversation, a good book, a good piece of art. I mean, that can make your life so fulfilling. So there's some great words, Albert. So
one more thing with 2020
absolutely.
coming, I mentioned on the past podcast that it's the 250th birthday of Beethoven.
Mm-hmm.
And we're gonna, that's a goal and a resolution that I have, is I'm gonna share more Beethoven recommendations in my social media feeds, and I'm gonna try to do like a kind of once a month pick, and anybody who wants to learn more, just DM me. I'm gonna make that a little bit of a goal for the year, to promote this music that's been such a big part of my life.
Yeah, I mean, you sent me that email of the 50
I
bits,
did.
so I'm really excited to do a dive into there and get it
Did
going.
the link work? You could link it. The link actually worked. Oh, good.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, cool. Very cool. All right, so you're gonna do your famous wrap up? You're very good.
Oh
at
yeah.
it. I'm having problems still pronouncing my own name. I hate it. I trip over it every week.
Yeah, in case you didn't know, I have edited Albert's name in from cross episodes.
I don't know why it's so hard.
I don't know, man.
But I can say the name of our podcast, Vir Vulnerabilis Vir.
Absolutely. Boom. All right, everyone. So this has been another episode of Vir Vulnerabilis Vir. I'm Adam Glinsky.
And I'm Albert Imperato.
Thanks for listening.